Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Mark?
I'm fantastic. Today we're going to answer the question, do you know what your spiritual gifts are? And if you don't, then have you ever taken an inventory to find out what they are? Hi, this is Mark Sopowitz live on A Clarion Voice along with Mike Donaldson.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. And we are going to explore that subject today about spiritual gifts. And my spiritual gifts are being an encourager and being a teacher. And I've taken many inventories to explore that. And I also like to help people. And so that's what I have discovered as far as determining what my spiritual gifts are. Mike, what are your spiritual gifts?
Well, you know, we have all spiritual gifts, and
Okay.
we really do. Because I remember going through this in my 20s, and it was the first time somebody asked that question to me. It says, "So, what's your spiritual gift?" I heard it from the pulpit, and they says, "You need to take some time to figure out what that is." So I said, "Okay, Lord, here we go." So that was a Sunday. So Monday, I get to pray for somebody, and they got healed. Oh, I guess
Wow.
I guess I'm a healer.
Okay.
Tuesday came around, and um, I got to lead someone to the Lord. Oh, well, I guess I'm an evangelist.
Right.
Wednesday came around, and I got this prophetic word, and everybody, the reaction was, "Yeah, this is the Lord." So, okay, so wait a minute, Lord, what are you trying to tell me?
Hmm.
He says, "You have them all, but there's going to be one that's more than the others." You know,
Yes, right.
because I was able to teach, I was able to do all these other things, and so um, it's a gift that I have in order to bring people into the presence of God through worship. That would be my main number one, I would think.
Right.
But it
Okay.
doesn't mean I don't pray for people because they get
No,
healed. It doesn't mean I don't prophesy when God gives me a word because I do. So
I think people need to identify what their spiritual gifts are. Granted, we all have one gift or another that is the main gift that we give to people. But I think that people need to do that in order to be able to bring people into the kingdom, even more so, and utilize what God has given you to be able to do that. Not everybody is going to be a prophesier or a teacher. But everybody has a gift. Okay, everybody has a gift of some sort, and you need to identify that so that you can be effective as far as bringing people to the Lord. And that's something that I think if you take a spiritual gifts inventory, you can find many different types online, just to identify what your particular gift is. But I think one of the best spiritual gifts that you can have is to be able to just to be what identify what you are in God. You're a child of God, and you need to demonstrate that to people wherever you happen to be, whether it be at work or in worship or wherever it happens to be, a coffee shop. You need to identify as a child of God, and I think that's one of the greatest gifts that you can have, because I know a lot of people do not necessarily reflect that, and then people identify them as are you sure you're a Christian? That sort of thing, because of their actions.
well, remember it does say in the Bible, do the work of an evangelist.
Hmm.
What does
Right.
that look like? You know, does that mean you got to get it by your, go pick up a soapbox and find yourself a corner? No,
No. Right.
it means be a friend to your neighbor.
Hmm.
Evangelism comes in many, many forms.
Right.
And one of the greatest keepers, I mean, one of the ones that really, I mean, this is something I heard recently and it's worth repeating. In early times, we're talking in the first 1,000 years uh, of of Christianity, there was a couple of plagues. Now, within those plagues, before they started, there was one Christian for every 326 pagans. Don't
Right.
ask me how they know that. Okay, so the first plague came, and people were bailing. They're bailing on family and you name it. They just didn't want to get it, so they left town. They got out of the region, except for the Christians. They stayed. They stayed to help those that were going through the plague. And then another plague came in after that. Well, by the end of the second plague, there was one Christian for every 3 pagans.
Wow.
It's wow.
That is something else, because
Service.
I'm not
Service evangelism right there.
I'm not sure what the statistics are now, as far as what you're referring to, but I think that we need to step up more as as believers,
Yeah.
because we don't necessarily do that. And identifying your spiritual gifts is just one, element of your walk with God.
Well, yes. I mean, here's evangelism with like prophetic. Okay. Say if you're in line at the store and God tells you that, you should pay for the person's groceries that are in front of you,
right. hmm
and you're seeing them ring it up, and it's like, $60 and you step in. I mean, I just saw this actually in a video too, where some man paid the difference for this woman that couldn't afford all the groceries she had on her on the counter there. And he goes, "I'll pay for the rest." He goes, "Are you sure?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You someone has helped me out in the past, and I'm sure you'll help others.
Right.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and let it happen." And sometimes that happens. I mean, I've actually walked up to a guy, tried to hand him $100. I just felt like God wanted me to do that. Just I don't know. You do.
hmm
I felt the inkling. I walked up. I says, "Hey, I think the Lord wants you to have this." And he looked at me like, "I don't need that." I go, "Really?" He goes, "No, I'm doing great." I go, "Okay, well, God bless you." And I walked away. I mean, no harm, no foul.
Right.
But I felt obedient. You know what I mean? And that's what we got to do. We got to take the time to listen to the Lord,
Yes.
because there's an Old Testament, there's a New Testament, and there's a You Testament.
That's true. We have to, yeah, we have to reflect what is within us. And I think, as far as using our spiritual gifts, we have to, be obedient to how God wants to use us, like you're describing, and I think that that's something that people don't think about as much, because they're basically trying to survive. I mean,
Right.
and that's
Right.
preeminent on people's minds, and I understand that.
We
But
need to help each other survive.
yes,
I think
I think so.
that's the key. And there's the Templeton Church that we've been interviewing recently that's doing a great job. You know, not only feeding the poor, but they're feeding the community. By having
The farm.
the farm and stuff.
Yes.
That's good God stuff.
Yes.
That really is. That really speaks to the heart of where people are at, and not give them some kind of a lofty answer for a basic need. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It is just some kind of spiritual answer. I'm hungry. Well, here's some food. That's the answer.
Do you think that churches are not doing that as much? I mean,
Well, we tend to get in our own little bubble.
okay.
We tend to, and that's the tendency. We love what we do and how we do it and who we do it with. It's fun, but it can turn into a club, which we should always be encouraging people to go out.
Right.
Do that other work. Do the work of an evangelist, because your testament, which is who you are and how you treat people, is what's going to either make or break some people's relationship to God. Right.
Right. I think that I remember when we had a Valentine's Day, many years ago, and so we were doing random acts of kindness
There you go.
towards people, and
Right.
so we were standing in the Vaughn Shopping Center here in Atascadero
hmm
with flowers, and we were giving flowers to the women as they were walking out of the store. And this one particular woman, we gave her a flower, and she broke down because she said to us, that this is the only acknowledgement that I'm going to get today during Valentine's Day.
Oh, wow.
Thank you. And that was, fantastic. I'll never forget that, obviously, because it really, speaks to wanting to help others. And just, I think the spiritual gift aspect and the obedience aspect should be married together.
Yeah.
We need to identify the spiritual gift, and then we need to be obedient to what God wants us to do in any particular, situation. I know that I'm a cashier, and I have the opportunity when people come in with their little electric carts with their basket in it, and they have whatever items that they're buying, and I purposely tell them not to put their items on the belt at the cashier lane. I go to them and scan the items so that they won't have to do that. And I'm not saying that just to, toot my own horn here, but it's just a random act of kindness that people don't expect. And I think that's the problem. People don't expect it. And then when it happens, they're just blown away.
Well, showing respect is a very powerful message in itself. Even as a, I mean, when I was a kid, I was a paper boy, and as a paper boy, one of the things that you were required to do is to go soliciting, for new accounts.
Hmm.
And we'd be, the guy would drive us around and he'd drop us off in a corner. He says, okay, you got this street and this street, go, and so you'd knock on the door in the afternoon and early evening hours, and you try to convince people to buy the paper, and this one kid came back with us, and it was hard work.
Oh, yeah.
Because people are like, when you're bugging me, I'm watching my show, I'm trying
Right.
to make dinner. And this one young kid, younger than I was, he came back with a win, and it was like, wow. And what had happened is that as the man was saying no, this old guy was saying no, he says, well, thank you, sir, I appreciate it. And he goes, what'd you call me? he says, I said, thank you, sir. He goes, get over here, I'm going to buy your newspaper, because I haven't heard anybody call me sir in so long.
I think that's just, it's so amazing, because you know what? Part of what we're talking about here is doing the unexpected,
Yeah.
because everybody expects nothing.
Right. I expect nothing, but when you get something, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what blows me away in my line of work, when I do simple things like putting their bags in the cart, and they reach over and go for it. And I said, I got it. It's okay. And so I do that because I want to, and that's being obedient. And even the mere fact of counting back money to people, you realize that that's a lost art. I mean, it's a lost art. Think about it. Those of you who are watching this, the next time you pay cash for something and you get the change back, be sure that you're getting the accurate amount of change, because you don't know that. They're not counting it back to you. That's a whole different subject. But in any case, in other words, I mean, it's doing the unexpected, and the reactions on people's faces are just absolutely mind-blowing, because I do it in Spanish too, because of I have
Whoa.
respect.
Okay, now I have more respect for you. I had no idea you did it in Spanish.
Yes, I do it in Spanish, and they're looking at me and they're saying, wow, because nobody bothers to take the time to do that.
Yeah.
So I think when all is said and done, identify your spiritual gifts, be obedient to what God is saying, and do the unexpected, which means saying yes to what the Lord says, no matter how uncomfortable you may be in doing that particular act.
Yes, that's good.
And I
That's
think
good.
that's the important thing. So I would recommend that you go online and take a spiritual gifts inventory, just to see, just for the heck of it, see what what your gifts are.
And what you major in.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. That's your spiritual major. Okay. No minors involved here. They're all majors. We don't major into minors. So anyways, just, do that and see whether or not that you actually do that, or should you be doing that? I should say, because sometimes you never know. And so I sincerely hope that you do that, and just be obedient and just listen to what God says, and just be quiet when he tells you to do something. Don't say, no, I don't want to do this. Don't be like, Moses saying, I can't speak, and God said, that's okay. I got you. It's all right. Or, any other of the men and women in the Bible who said no at first.
You mean like Jonah?
Exactly. Jonah is the prime example. Jonah said no, he ran away. When he got in the whale and he prayed, then he said yes.
Repented. Yeah.
Yeah, he had to suffer the consequences. So that's something that I don't want you to necessarily do. But sometimes you have to go through pain in order to recognize what God really wants you to do.
That's only if it's that important,
Yeah.
If it's that important to God, he'll make sure that you get the message.
Oh yeah, most definitely. So I hope that you've enjoyed our conversation today, and I just want to recommend again, as we try to do, the Templeton Hills Community Farm. And they're open on Sundays from 9 until 2. They have wonderful vegetables. And Matt Giese, the manager, or Zach Page, who we interviewed last week, the pastor of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, will be there to help you. And I certainly recommend that you go about doing that. And also, just as a reminder, His United Bride, which is our ministry, meets on Monday nights for worship and a word from somebody on the board or someone you don't expect. But in any case, they worship on Sunday nights at 7:00, or Monday nights rather at 7:00. So I recommend that you come and join us. We're here at 7635 El Camino Real in the beautiful city of Atascadero. So anyways, we hope that you have a wonderful week. And this is Mark Sobowitz
And
live.
Mike Donaldson.
You got it. From the Hub Studios in suite number 6 in Atascadero. Thank you.